Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Valvoline and Sparesbox. Don't forget BCW5 on checkout. Today we're back on the IS200. Well, it's not a 200 anymore, it's a 600. If you guys didn't catch last episode with the IS200, 600, 800, whatever, the ring gear actually fell off our flywheel.
Oh, there it goes.
I think the ring gear might have fallen off. It sounds like a ring gear that's spinning around. This is literally supposed to be on the outer edge of the flywheel. Basically the remedy to fix that is to find a clutch kit that comes with a one-piece flywheel ring gear assembly, and the Extreme clutch kit, which we're going to be fitting today, has exactly that. It's actually a 230mm or 9-inch twin plate. This is what we've gone with for a few reasons. A, because it's easily rebuildable at home or in a shop. As I've already mentioned, it's got an integrated ring gear. Knowing what we know now with the ring gear that fell off, speaking to a few people, obviously since that failed, there's a few different theories on both the heating of it and also potentially the RPM of it. Some people have actually said that that ring gear expands enough to fall off at high RPM, and I'm kind of leaning towards that being more of the case rather than the actual heat of it, because when that fell off, it had literally been running for about 30 seconds, but I was doing a lot of first gear high RPM stuff on the Motocana, so see, I'm kind of actually leaning towards that RPM slightly expanding it enough for it to fall off, but that's another story. Yeah, back to this Extreme kit. It comes with a heap of stuff. It's probably one of the most in-depth kits I've actually seen. So you come with a concentric bearing spacer. So this actually uses the earlier style GM concentric bearing. This is well, in Australia, this would be in a VT to VZ Commodore. Internationally, you're probably the sort of thing you'd see in a late 90s Camaro. So yeah, that's actually a bit more robust than the VE type one, being there's a lot more aluminium stuff in this, whereas the VE one actually has a lot of plastic components internally. You get a braided clutch line, which this line actually suits a VE Commodore. Unfortunately, this doesn't actually suit the IS setup, because we obviously have a conversion with a mismatched master to slave cylinder. But yeah, super nice to see that they supply literally everything to make this fit. You also get a remote bleed line, which we are going to be using, because this is going to be pretty well invaluable at the track if we do need to bleed the clutch. We've got obviously the bolts to suit our concentric slave, got a spigot bearing, got new flywheel bolts, which are like a high tensile double hex bolt, which means I'm going to have to find another double hex socket today. And my most favorite thing of all is a steel alignment tool. Now, this thing is worth its weight in gold, because a lot of twin plates are pretty fussy to get aligned correctly, and the plastic alignment tools, in my opinion, just aren't accurate enough to get that alignment correct. And all in all, a lot of my experiences with T56s and TR6060s is they've got to be spot on, and more often than not, we actually end up using the box with no bell housing on it as an alignment tool. It's probably not the right way to do it, but it's worked for us in the past. But I'm hoping that that will literally be a thing of the past now, because this is going to save me a lot of headaches, and it's going to save both Gian and I a lot of wiggling gearboxes around with no bell housing. So yeah, super nice bit of machining. Yeah, really well done, and it is literally as good as an input shaft. So if you can't align a clutch with that, you've probably got other issues. So plenty of chats. We're going to pull the clutch apart now, because we need to actually separate the clutch from the flywheel so we can fit the flywheel to the engine. I have also already fitted a new rear main plate, and as a bonus to that, on the LSs, the rear main plate actually goes all the way up to the cam tunnel, and I was actually able to get the cam specs off of our camshaft while I was replacing that rear main cover. So bit of a win. It's just a kind of a mild street cam, so we most likely will upgrade that at some point anyway. And I do have some other parts to go into this engine at some point as well, so no doubt we'll be doing that down the line. We'll split this thing up now and start to fit it. So it's actually a lot thicker than the previous one, where the friction face is, so I'm wondering if they've actually added material there and removed it here to kind of counteract that. Also, removing material further out is going to be a lot better for sort of centrifugal forces. So science. Also, we've changed the headlights and the grille. There must be a reason why there's another hole in the crank, unless it's a balance mark maybe. Slaz. Tight. I did all of them. Can be quite hard to actually get the spigot bearing out of the crank. This is a super handy little tool to just pull it out. Basically a little 3-leg puller. It just pulls the bearing out, and I haven't had it fail yet. or not be able to get a bearing out yet. So watch it prove me wrong today. That was easy. That was a cakewalk, that one. Coming at you like Cleopatra. The Extreme twin plate comes balanced as an assembly, and it's a really nice feature that actually mark the cover and the flywheel together. So to make sure that it is balanced as a unit, you need to make sure that you realign those marks upon installation. So yeah, if you get that wrong, you may get some driveline vibrations. I don't think it's going to be a massive issue, but the fact that they mark it tells me that it should go back in that same spot. So that's the way we're going to do it. Also, we're just going to put a couple of bolts in finger tight, and then going to go around and re-torque or torque all of them with a torque wrench. Another nice little feature, they actually give you the torque spec literally laser etched onto the cover. And I also saw a note in the documentation that says not to put Loctite on these bolts. I've noticed they do actually come with a little bit of dry Loctite on them, so yeah, don't put extra Loctite on these. So yeah, we're going to be doing it to 18 Newton meters. I really like that it has like a step machined into it. Like the cover's actually goes over the top of this clutch basket. I've just had a bit of a look at the instructions. It actually basically tells you to tighten every second bolt all the way around. And once you got that, you remove basically check the alignment tool's not bound up or angled or tight in any particular way. Then once you've basically confirmed that the clutch is still aligned, you go back and re-torque all of them to 13 foot-pounds or 18 Newton meters. So we'll go and do the hand tighten now, and then we'll come back and re-torque all of them to the torque spec, which is also nicely laser etched onto the cover. Minty, ooh, that pretty steel alignment tool. We've just got our concentric slave, including our spacer, installed. This sticker is actually stuck on the front of the concentric slave, and it does also come with some paperwork, but you can scan that QR code and it goes to a web link which gives you that actual document. In short, it does say do not ever clean the concentric slaves with brake cleaner because it will basically wash the lubricant out of the bearing. And the other thing it does state is to not compress the concentric slave on the bench as it can damage the seals. We've done neither of those things, but I have been guilty in the past of compressing these CSCs before they've been installed. So good to know. I have never seen this on these before, but yeah, really handy information to know. And now we're at the point where, because we've got it mounted up, we're going to do all of our plumbing now. I did mention previously that the Extreme kit comes with a braided clutch line and a remote bleeder. We are going to use the remote bleeder from the kit, but because of being that it's going into a conversion, not into a VE or a VF Commodore, we can't use the supplied clutch braided line. But I do actually have a Raceworks adapter fitting to suit this and to suit the existing line that I've already made. So it's going to be a pretty nice and easy install. Because of the proximity to the headers, we're actually going to add a little bit of this Raceworks fire sleeve just to protect this braided line. I'm most likely actually going to fire this through the cabin into the hole that we hastily drilled at Rayleigh, just because it's going to make it heaps easier to actually bleed it inside the car. That was surprisingly easy. The joys of a metal alignment tool, people. That would have been 2 hours if it was a plastic one. Wrong way. Now, if you're new to the channel or you may have missed the episode that we did the clutch setup on the IS, you may be confused as to why we're putting brake fluid in the brake master cylinder reservoir as opposed to the clutch master cylinder reservoir. In short, this actually services both. So on the factory IS setup, there would have been an ABS module over here, and in the Toyotas of this era, they actually bled excess fluid off the ABS unit directly back to the master cylinder reservoir. So the fitting that was originally actually the bleed line or the return line from the ABS unit is now actually supplying brake fluid to the clutch master cylinder. So we've gone with a Willwood external reservoir master cylinder, and it all just plumbed in super neat. So yeah, if you're confused, that's the reason why. I know the comments will probably blow up, but if you wait the 10 seconds for the explanation, you'll find out. We've got the clutch in, it's all sorted, it's pretty nice. The pedal actually feels completely different to when we had that old single plate in there. I don't know if it's as a result of the diaphragm being completely different or the VT to VZ slave cylinder potentially having a different internal fluid volume, which is kind of the same thing as if the piston was a different size on a traditional slave cylinder. But either way, it definitely feels a lot different, so it'll take a little bit of getting used to drive it, but pretty stoked with the outcome. I keep raving on about it, but that metal alignment tool, that saved me at least half an hour today. So yeah, highly recommend if you're going to do a clutch on an LS to try and find one of them. I don't know if Extreme sell them separately, but I'm sure if you annoy them enough, they might sell you one. Hi Extreme. Massive thanks to those guys too for their support. They've been supplying clutches to us for a little while now. And if you do want an extreme clutch, you can get them from Sparesbox, which you can use our code BCW5 for. That's pretty much us done for the day. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.